Hi, here we go again. I'm getting ready to jump into the second section of this module, but before that I just want to kind of touch upon a couple things that you've read or gone through in the first part of the first section. And I went into a little bit more detail about why are we bringing children into your design project, actually asking you to show how they're involved in your project or to involve them in the project. And part of what I can recap with you is the questions about if children are in your life and how they're in your life, to start considering different ways that kids and youth are crossing paths with you, whether you're a single person or not. Of course, we're all connected to kids in some way or another. And if we're really embracing the ethic, or the people care ethic, we're thinking about what's happening when we're not here, beyond our time, 7 generations, and starting to embrace that aspect of the ethics when we're doing design work as well. So, moving on into section 2, we're kind of getting a little further beyond how we're going to be together in terms of you understanding as much as you can without having to go into heavy-duty research about developmental differences with kids. And so in this section, I wanted to have you start considering if it's a design project that you're welcoming kids into to help, or if the kids are there with you actually informing you about design. The other part of this section is that the focus gets shifted a little bit for you to start considering yourself to not just be a student, but to also be a teacher, and or a mentor, or a facilitator, however you want to designate yourself in that role. And in speaking in terms of that, there's different things that we can do to prepare ourselves so that you have so that you're ready, and you can go a lot deeper than what I'm going to share with you right now. But I want to show you some really simple charts that I've made, and I like to use the visual aspect of brain and hand and marker. And so I've created a life circle wheel, which you've probably seen in different parts. There's many of us that use this circle design to explain where we are on the wheel of time. And I follow a tradition of on the right side of the circle is the east side of the circle. And this is the seed stage of life. And the first thing that we're doing on this circle in beginning here is looking at 3 to 6 years old and their developmental level, which is mostly sensory, purely sensory. They're little explorers. I have a granddaughter now, and I'm learning all kinds of things about her again after raising my kids. I get to observe her learning all of these amazing things, and learning not just to walk and some of the larger milestones, but like how things work, and doing things over and over and over again just to watch what's happening, and she's fascinated with it. So 3 to 6 years old is that time in toddlerhood and early childhood that sensory plus a little more dexterity starts coming in, and kids are able to understand certain, single word phrases like yes and no and let's go, different things like that, but mostly real simple explanations. And it's so much fun to explore with kids that age, especially in nature and outdoors. So the first stage in the east is the 3 to 6 year olds. Then we go down to the south, and this is a little sprouty stage. This is where they start getting a little bit bigger, and they're moving into a place where they're working in more concrete ways and working together and completing tasks. And this is about the age between 6 and 7 when you can move from maybe more of a hierarchical, I'm protecting you, to giving them a little bit more freedom as far as exploring an egalitarian group process could start, those concepts, you could start connecting with them there in different ways with kids. And then in the West is the flower stage where things are starting to really bloom. And this is when I've noticed kids like to go off on their own, and autonomy is really important. They're starting to really develop their own identity. Catherine Burke, a woman out of Norway, and I think that Loretta Buckner will reference her for you as well. I'll add her in the references. She's written about that ecological identity that we can help foster in developing with children, and that means that they are part of that tribe. They're part of that nature tribe. We know that we're not separate from nature. We're a part of it. We're going to spend time on our own, but we're also contemplating what's happening. This was a hugely important time for me when I was a child, and I had the restrictive freedom, and by that I mean I came from a large family with many, 4 sisters and a brother, and we were all over the place. We lived in a rural setting, and we had structure, we had chores, we had this and that. My mom kept us hopping and doing what we needed to do to help her out. But we also had a lot of free time, and I would take off, and I would do this. I would take off into the woods. I was very fortunate because I was able to live in a beautiful area that I could explore, and I could go out and connect without becoming a citizen scientist, basically, becoming somebody that was adventuring on my own. And I think that it's really important that we are able to maybe not offer those to kids in that range, but to help them stay connected to that kind of experience. Moving around the circle then in the north, this is where the fruit or the seed is happening. This is 16 years and older. This is when I remember thinking, I'm going to have to move to Australia because I need to not only just think about what koala bears and kangaroos and the other flora and fauna look like in Australia, but I think I need to go there. I'm going to have to go there and see that up close and personal. So there's this big push at this point to more responsibility, dreams that are really important, and they're going to happen. They're really going to happen. Kids at this point, maybe this is where we call them the change agents. I think they are all the way around. They change us, and we change them. But at this age, you know, I remember I was an activist, and I was concerned about, you know, things that were happening in the environment then, and I wanted to not necessarily have my voice heard, but I wanted to be a part of that tribe that was trying to make some changes happen. So this is a place where we start thinking about taking our kids with us when we are doing community activism and asking for things to be done differently in our communities, and we're letting them actually speak. Maybe we're discussing things with them, but once we're in those kinds of situations, they're speaking themselves. They're standing on their own 2 feet, and they're a force to be reckoned with. And everybody, if we give